Welcome back to another episode of the Todd Durkin Impact Show, and happy Memorial Day. Here in the United States, we celebrate Memorial Day, which actually the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day is any man or woman who has served in any of the military branches protecting our freedom, whereas Memorial Day is any man or woman who's paid the ultimate sacrifice fighting for our freedom. As a matter of fact, today I have a very special guest on the show, and her name is Jeaneane Henson. And Jeaneane Henson has been a friend for many moons. She's been in my mastermind group, and let me tell you what, she's been in the industry for 40 plus years. Imagine that, being in the fitness industry for 40 plus years. And her son, Daniel Ferguson, served in the Army for many years. And the reason why I want to have Jeaneane on is because while Daniel didn't lose his life fighting for our freedom, it was soon thereafter that he got out of the Army where Daniel took his own life. And one of the things I want to talk about today, while a very uplifting episode actually, is the mental challenges and the mental health challenges that many military men and women face after they get out and transition into the civilian world. And Jeaneane and I talk about that, including I have an aha moment where I talk about how I would love to see even more men and women who are looking for career opportunities and more purpose-driven opportunities to come into the fitness field, because I believe there are tremendous opportunities now for men and women who are looking to help people. I believe that fitness is a great option. So my friends, I hope that on this Memorial Day, you can actually listen in and be reflective and be grateful and thankful for all of the men and women who have paid that ultimate sacrifice so that you and I can do what we do. But today, I'd like for you to listen in to the story of Daniel Ferguson as told by his mom, Jeaneane Henson. Welcome back, and I am here with Jeaneane Henson. Jeaneane, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you for being here on Memorial Day. We're sharing so many things about your son, Daniel. But before we share his story, I want to talk about your story and over 40 years of serving in the fitness industry, and what a background. Tell us a little about what you do, why you do it, and some of your illustrious accolades as well.
Well, I started doing push-ups coming out of the womb, of course, since it was so long ago. But I fell into it because I had a accident. I was a competitive equestrian and had a horse flip over and land on top of me. Ooh. And knew I needed to rehab my body back.
What did it break bones?
I was very lucky. When he flipped over on me, I sunk into DG, which is sand. And so I only tore muscle, tore ligaments.
That's it.
Nothing broke.
Just tore ligaments and
just
everything
concussion
else.
And
concussion.
Yeah, and all of that. So and I was back up on a horse in 2 weeks. But
keep going.
So I went into a gym, and I knew they had no way of reattaching the muscle. That if I could work the muscle surrounding it, that I could maybe give it some support. Okay. So I just kind of figured that out, and I was like 30 days away from graduating, bachelor's of animal science, because I was going to work with large animals, and I'm at physical therapy, and I'm on the leg extension. He's talking about quadriceps, and I went, done. And came home and told my parents I'm getting a job in a gym, to which 4 years of college, they were so thrilled.
How old were you?
I was 22.
Okay.
22. Okay. And I loved it. I loved it from the beginning. And my first mentor was a gentleman that Lalaine remembers, because he had 2 Jack LaLanne health clubs where the men worked out Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and the women worked out Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays.
What?
And we were complete with flocked wallpaper and Cupid, statues, and Venus de Milo, and the belts. Yeah. You're going to shake that fat off.
I worked out at a Jack LaLanne gym in Brick, New Jersey. That wasn't the first gym I ever belonged to.
Wow.
Racquetball. We had gym, the whole thing. But I don't remember the shake weights, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The shake belts.
And
Okay?
it was, for women, it was beauty bells.
Okay.
Men were dumbbells. Just to be clear.
Yep. So keep going. So what? So you get a job at the gym.
Yes. And I loved it. I worked there for 3 years, and then I realized I wasn't going further. So I got the first gym, Nautilus centers that were in California. It was Sean Harrington's Nautilus centers, and our Brentwood facility became famous because Bo Derek worked out there.
Huh.
Now we're really dating it, for the movie 10.
Yeah.
So a lot of actors and actresses worked out there, and then I was part of opening the Beverly Hills facility with Kathy Smith. Was just an up and coming.
No way.
And I'm sorry that
This is good history.
I did not care for Beverly Hills.
Yep.
And
I understand.
I said, please send me back to Pasadena. I wanted to be where real people were. Which then, let's fast forward to 2007, when I was at an IDEA conference, and I took a class called Train the Joes Like the Pros, taught by Todd Durkin.
Oh.
And I'm like, he's speaking to me. I felt in Beverly Hills where there wasn't even personal trainers yet, but people kept coming up and asking, will you train me private? I said, why can't regular people have those same privileges?
Yep.
And that's where my heart was. And I wanted to help the Joes.
I loved that class, by the way. I taught that for several years, Train the Joes Like the Pros. And it was a lot of fun because in those workshops, we probably had, a couple hundred people in that class.
Oh, yeah.
But it was all about having fun, getting after it, using, foot quickness, speed, core, power and explosion, strength, plyometrics, of course, flexibility, mobility into one 45 to 60 minute session, and having fun too. So I remember that vividly. 2007, teaching. So what happens after that? 2007, you take the class.
So then in March of 2008, I started my first boot camp. I was an independent contractor at a local gym, and talked to the manager about, I think we could do a boot camp here.
Yep.
Well, they had no space for me, so I just created it outdoors.
Yeah.
And I made up little chants and, totally doing a Todd thing on,
A Todd thing.
the Todd thing. And it was great, and I loved it. And I was there for quite a long time, and then had a little falling out with the owner, and I found this other facility. This gentleman was just opening, and I'm like, he goes, are you looking for a gym? And I said, I might be. And I brought all my people over there, and now I own it.
Yeah.
So I've been there 8 years.
Yep.
I've owned it full out for 4.
California
now.
Bodies.
California Bodies.
California Bodies.
Yeah.
So for the last several years, you've been part of the mastermind group.
Yes.
And talk to me about that and what that's meant for your business and for your life.
So being a lone wolf, an independent contractor, I'm very limited in what knowledge I have available to me, and I knew I needed to be with like-minded individuals.
Yep.
And when I joined, it was when we were at Park City in 2016. I joined, and I'm like at the retreat the next month, because I'm like, I'm going full on in. I have big dreams and aspirations, and I'm not going to do those by myself. I need to be with the type of people who are leading the pack. So I jumped in, and right away I knew, this was home. This was great. And I had not acquired the gym yet. I'd not bought it full out yet.
Okay.
So the mastermind has walked me through this whole process. And as I look back today on what I've learned, conversations, I just hired a social media person, and I'm like, I have this conversation. I know what she's talking about. I'm asking intelligent questions and shopping for software programs, the same thing. I'm asking good questions because I've been educated. I have learned instead of like, over the head. It's been the best. It has.
Well, it's great having you, and I appreciate everything you do for so many people. And I loved hearing your background of your ascent through the fitness industry. 45 years. That's 4 decades, folks, in an industry. That is impressive. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for being a beacon of light. Thank you for sharing your spirit, soul, energy with all who you impact as well. Take us to 2019. We're at the Todd Durkin Mastermind Retreat, and it is at the Rancho Bernardo Inn, and this is where life changed. Right?
Yes.
This was one where you got the news about your son. Bring us back to that, because there's some interesting things, I call them some God things, that happened at that retreat, and now has set you in a path where you're on a mission to serve not only the military, but people with mental health, with suicide and suicide survivors and that. But take us back to the Todd Durkin Mastermind Retreat 2019 at the Rancho Bernardo Inn.
So at that retreat, I had one of my trainers I brought along with me, and Steve Weatherford was the keynote speaker. We got to hold the trophy, the
Super Bowl
Lombardi
trophy,
and it was exciting. And of course, seeing all my friends from the mastermind, we get to see each other face to face twice a year.
Exactly.
And so it was all wonderful. And then during one of our sessions, a gentleman, Darren Griffin, stood up, and he shared about his facility in Dallas, Texas, and working with veterans, because he had 5 friends, close friends, who committed suicide. And I remember the heaviness of him as he told this story. And so when we had a break, I went over and I talked to him. And Daniel had been in the Army. He'd wanted to go in the military as far back as I can remember. And some circumstances happened that he got a little angry and he left and wanted to pursue something else. He and I remember he went back to school. He went to Oklahoma University and was going to go on the GI Bill, and he was so lost. And I flew back there, and I was scared to death. I looked at him, and he just was a ghost of himself. And so I shared that with Griff, and I said, I know from my son's experience how difficult it is to get out and try and transition into civilian life. I live in a military town. I'm in Fallbrook, California, Camp Pendleton. We're at the back gate.
Yep.
And I said, I know there's something that I can do.
So what Griff was sharing at the retreat resonated with you because you knew your son Daniel had stuff going on.
Yeah.
And Griff, by the way, who is a former Marine, and this brother had some presence. I remember him standing up. I still could see him standing up, and he laid it down, and how he had lost 5 brothers from the Corps. And there wasn't, you could hear a pin drop in the room when he was speaking, because he was sharing the challenges that all men and women who serve, many of the mental challenges that they go through after seeing action, and what Griff saw. And as he shared that so eloquently, there were tears, and there was power, there was soul in that, and obviously it had a deeper meaning for you because Daniel was facing some demons at the time as well.
Yes. So one of the things that struck me is that weekend he said, Mom, I want to come see you. I said, oh, Daniel, I'm down in San Diego at the retreat, and if I didn't have my trainer there, I said, I would have left early. I would have left in a second. Anytime my kids need me, I'm there. And I said, and he goes, well, I'll come down to San Diego. And I went, that was very uncharacteristic of him. Why couldn't he wait till the following weekend? So I said, no. As Sunday, we usually end early. I'll cut out. And we went home. His sister, who he was extremely close with, they were so close, was there. And we had our barbecue, all his favorite foods, and had a really good time. And he said he was going to go travel for 2 weeks. So he was going to go to all the places he'd been with his buddies, Thailand, Dubai. He wanted to go to Spain. He goes, but this time I want to see it. I want to see like the reclining Buddha and really look at it with different eyes. And that's great. I'm excited for you. I knew he loves to travel.
Right.
So he did go. He texted, as he always did, landed. Oh, it's great. It's beautiful. Now I'm off to here. And the last time I spoke with him was Friday, March 13th, when he'd returned and called as he always did. And we talked about his trip and we talked about future trips and what we were going to do for Easter and our next family event. And then I got this feeling, and it still rung in my head, about him wanting to come down here. And I said, Daniel, I need to see you. And I was pleading with him. Right. I just feel like I have to see you. And he started getting irritated with me, as he would if he pushed too far.
As a son with his mother,
as a son would. And only a mother will push that far. And I said, oh, I understand you're probably jet lag. Well, I'll come next weekend. And then he was like, oh, I gotta go. And then called his sister.
Okay.
And then they found him on Sunday the 17th.
Okay. And
he had taken his life. Now, to backtrack a little bit, I don't know if you kept up with some new news about burn pits.
No.
Okay. So there's 4 bills right now, 3 in the Senate and 1 in the House, about the issue with burn pits and the health issues associated with people who served in Iraq, Afghanistan. There's a list. Uzbekistan. Well, Daniel was in both Uzbekistan and Afghanistan. And in 2018, he started throwing blood clots for some unknown reason. And they were extremely painful. They put him in the hospital a couple times. And I asked a nurse client of mine, and she goes, yeah, sometimes healthy men will start throwing blood clots. I had a fireman come in. I thought, fireman is one of the highest careers of toxic exposure.
Yeah.
So it was just recently I learned about burn pits and respiratory issues and blood clots, which Daniel had. So to make a long story short, we looked into some of his paperwork and things, and we feel pretty well that he had some kind of blood disorder. I can't say it's related to burn pits, but there was more going on than what we knew.
First off, thank you for sharing that, because I can't imagine, right, like going through such a difficult time. I think any parent, when you lose a child, how you ever get over that, you don't. And especially with a young man here, Daniel, who served in the U.S. Army, served our country admirably. And, you talked about, because we've talked about it 1,000 times, his love of the military, camaraderie, the men and women who serve. And the reason why I wanted to have you on today is Memorial Day. And, Memorial Day is for those, while, they paid the ultimate sacrifice in their life fighting for our freedom. But one of the things I think we sometimes forget about is these men and women who serve or are impacted fighting, serving overseas, whatever it may be, or who are battling mental disease. And I know the military has really stepped up their efforts to try to address this. But I also know that Jeaneane Henson has as well. I know you have stepped up your efforts, and you've been a woman on a mission since 2019, when Daniel took his life, to really bring such great awareness to the military community, to the communities at large. And in so many ways, Jeaneane, your purpose is deepened to make sure that Daniel's legacy lives on as well. And for that, I just want to say thank you, because I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy. And today, on this Memorial Day, with people, when you think about, everyone probably knows someone who has served in the military. That would be Veterans Day, but this is on Memorial Day, people who've lost their lives serving on that. I think that the mental health component is something that we certainly want to talk about a little bit today, and the complexity of even military suicide, and whether that be while serving overseas or while on base or even after one gets out of the military. What do we do about this? How do we prevent? I'm talking specifically suicide, and this is something you probably think about every single day. How do you get through it? I mean, I know you don't get over it, but how do you get through it?
Well, you're absolutely right. You never get over it.
Right.
But and it takes a lot of work
Yeah.
to get through it. And there are what I call life preservers out there but you have to swim to them and reach to them. And one of the reasons I started the Daniel Ferguson Memorial Foundation was because I understood how much Daniel missed that camaraderie and that brotherhood. And after he'd gotten out of the military, he went into government contracting, because that's where a lot of military, when they get out, that's where they go. And he would sit around and they would tell stories. And, Mom, he's the real guy. He's the real dude. You should hear what he did. And he loved those stories. And so I knew that not only did I need to create an environment where they could nurture that brotherhood, but that it would also give them purpose and goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Successfully transition, right, from the brotherhood or the sisterhood, the camaraderie that you would get in one of the branches of the military into the next phase of life.
And a safe environment.
That
they could speak with people who've lived it as well, and they know they can talk about their struggles.
Yeah.
And it's not like all of a sudden, we're coming together. Oh, let me tell you what's going on.
Right.
It's just you began, and I hired a gentleman, wonderful man, Tony Walters. He was 10-year Marine, Special Ops, and he was kind of doing this out of his garage. And so our passions aligned so well. He was the perfect choice. And I knew I couldn't do it because I'm a trainer, but I didn't live that life.
Right.
And so he set it up so beautifully where he has them, they load each other's weights. They spot each other. They encourage each other. They depend on each other. Like in the military, they have this IGY-6, I got your back. And so he nurtures that relationship with them. And then because of COVID, we haven't been able to have the events yet, but our goal is to then, as a team, that they compete together in like the mud run, the U.S. Marine mud run, which was canceled last year. Powerlifting and Spartan competition seemed to be the one that like sparks in their eyes when they hear that one. And so what the foundation will pay for is also for them to enter as a team into these events, get their T-shirts, so they have, their Daniel's Crew T-shirts with the logo, and they run together, encourage each other, support each other, but they have now purpose. They have a goal to work for, because that's a very important.
So this is a 501c3 that you set up? It's a 501c3 you set up as a foundation to ultimately raise money to give back to men and women who have served in the military so that they can basically successfully transition into civilian world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're doing work now, because you still are an active trainer, you still own your gym, when you're doing foundational work, do you feel that right now most brings you life, or is that more like that's when you most feel connected with Daniel? When you're doing your foundational work, what does that bring you?
I think both.
Okay.
Definitely a connection with Daniel, and I love listening to the stories. I have a couple gentlemen I'm thinking of right now, and though again I'm not military, I can listen. Yeah. And listening is really important. And I had one gentleman who came in the other day, and he was, I believe, Vietnam. He's been gassed, shot, stabbed, died 3 times. In a hospital bed for 2 years, in a wheelchair, told him he'd never walk. I mean, he's telling me the story, and I'm like, just, whoa.
Wow.
But he's a stubborn sucker.
Yeah.
You know, he is so determined, and they are not going to keep me down. And he came in, joined the gym.
Wow.
And what is real interesting about the military mindset is when you're offering programs like this for them, they will always say, no, that's for somebody who really needs it.
Yeah.
That's one of the problems with the VA and taking utilizing their services. There's somebody out. You know, there's one of my brothers who really needs that, who's got it worse than me. So he came in, and of course, we have a military discount. He just wanted that membership, and he's going to fight his way back. And then I had another young man. They warm my heart, and listening to them and how they're still fighters.
Yeah.
And he was injured by an IED and a back injury, and it took him 2 years to strengthen, and he started getting his core strong, started yoga. Now he wants to build his muscles and asks a lot of questions, which I love, and it's just like, let me help you, okay? And I love that he even asks. And he's the most gentle soul, but they have such a determination. And
do you find that from your work over the last 3+ years, do you find that a lot of the men and women who either retired from the military or get out after a few years, they feel lost afterwards?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And I know the military, I'm sure, has support for these men and women. But one thing I've always scratched my head on, and I could do a better job at this, is I always thought the fitness industry would be a great avenue for men and women who are transitioning into the civilian world, because a lot of my either former employees who were military or even a current employee who is former military, they're some of the best people in the sense of they're showing up early. What a concept. Showing up early. They're very, very specific and organized with what they do. They follow directions or the protocols, procedures, and they understand the value of fitness and health and all that. And even the gal now, Jeaneane, who's a new hire for us at Fitness Quest 10, she's 20+ years in the Army. She's a wonderful woman, like a wonderful, energized woman who is doing great things, going to change a lot of lives. I'm like, the industry, our industry, the fitness industry, I wish there was a way to place folks who are getting out of the military or retire into a studio or a club or a box where men and women who want to get into a new career but are lost, they don't know which direction to go, they could go this. Maybe I just come up with a new idea for us, Jeaneane. Maybe I gotta be the solution, right? But I don't know. I just every time I think about that and I hear stories like you're sharing, it's like, man, like we have to do better in the sense of how can we help them get placed into a career such as fitness, which can really help people go deeper on their own purposes and help them become servants of other people's health and fitness. So anyway, just a thought I've had for a long time. I don't know what the answer is, so maybe I need to reach out to the American Council on Exercise or one of the military branches and try to partner up with them and create something unique. I don't know, just a deep thought. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so there actually is an organization called Fit Ops.
Okay.
It's a nonprofit.
Okay.
And I heard about it from John, you're going to help me, Cena? He's a wrestler.
John Cena.
Thank you.
Come on.
Sorry.
John Cena. You got to know John Cena.
I know by face.
Yeah.
I know by face.
John Cena.
He was sponsoring and really having a call out for people to donate into this organization. So I really started looking into it.
Yep.
I have followed up with Fit Ops, and actually Tony did for me and sent emails. We are looking for trainers, and they're kind of not there yet. So there is kind of a disconnect between what they're doing, turning out military trainers, veteran military, and how we connect them with all of us who want them for all the reasons that you say.
Yep.
Adherence to systems.
What is Cena's role in this? Is he with
he's
Fitness
a public
Hubs?
he's a public figure who it's to his heart.
John Cena, I know you're listening to this right now. Let's connect. Let's get some more of these men and women from the military into the fitness industry. We have lots of people to help. That's for you, Johnny Cena. You can't see me. That's
There
a
you
little
go.
WWE
Thank
thing.
you.
You can't see me. Don't worry.
Okay.
That's a John Cena thing. Don't worry. I'm a little closet WWE follower for all you don't know that. Keep going. So I digress.
Okay. so yeah.
Okay, that's
So-
good. That's good. Okay, so the hiring a vet part, talk about that. Why is it beneficial to hire a vet besides obviously helping them with their purpose? Are there other benefits as well?
Well, just the things that those are my best employees. Systems, following systems, guidelines. I'm struggling to put systems together. Tony comes in and he's writing up the systems, and we're putting together an affiliate program because Tony spearheads Daniel's Challenge, and we're putting together an affiliate program where we can reach out.
Love
We've
it.
had some
Love it.
interest in other facilities in other states.
Yep.
Actually had the National Guard from Washington State reach out to me.
Okay.
And so we're like, okay, we got to find a facility here. And yeah, I kind of lost my thought with that.
Well,
where I was going with
one thing I'd say too, and I know right before the pandemic hit, when I was speaking up at Camp Pendleton, there must have been, over the course of the day that you came up, was there, I don't know, 3,000
Yeah.
Marines?
Yeah.
3,000 Marines I spoke at, and you were in the back of the room. And Jeaneane, I don't know if you know this or not, but I'd be up there, and I guess the pride that you had on you being in the presence of all of those men and women in that room, it was radiant. It was radiant of you, like almost feeling at home back there. So I thank you for your direction and your mission since 2019 on how many people, hundreds if not thousands of people, have been helped with the foundation, with you just giving to families who've been impacted either by suicide or who are really battling life right now. So I say thank you for that, because you have made such significant strides in 3 years. And not that you've chosen this path. I know you haven't, and you probably would never choose it again. But the fact that you have gone through this and are doing so many wonderful things for people who are lost, empty, depressed, suicidal is truly remarkable and truly impactful. And I just say thank you, and I love you for what you're doing for so many people.
Thank you.
Talk about resources for family and support. I know there's a few resources that you have for someone who may know somebody, or it's you who's listening may want to reach out on this. What are some of those resources someone could reach out to?
So right after Daniel had passed, I got connected with a couple, Dr. Howard and Jean Summers. They had lost their son in 2013. His name also is Daniel Summers. And this brought up one of the issues, the struggles with military seeking help. Both Daniel Summers and my Daniel were in intelligence. Well, they were putting Daniel Summers in group therapy. You can't talk about what you did in the military when you're intelligence, and probably a lot of other situations as well.
Right.
And so Howard and Jean actually put a bill together called the Daniel Summers Network Support Act.
Okay.
That was passed in 2016, and with the help of an Arizona congresswoman. And what that does is now when you are entering into the military, you are asked, who is your network of support? Because one of the things that Jean said that frustrated her is she didn't know how to have a conversation like I didn't with my son. I don't know anything about military. And I would get the rolling the eyes,
yeah.
shut down, if I asked stupid questions. And she was like, I don't know what to say. And so later she came upon some videos of what guys went through in boot camp. And she's like, oh, if I'd known, I could have known some of the things that he went through. So through this act now, as they come in, like I said, they give their friends, their family, the people who are their network support, and those people can receive education.
Yeah.
what things to look for,
Yep.
how to have a conversation, which I think is just a huge impact
I love it.
in
I love it.
moving forward.
Yeah. So the Daniel Summers Network Support Act.
Yeah.
And folks, I'll put that in the show notes and the description as well, so that if you'd like to refer to that, look up the Daniel Summers Network Support Act. That's certainly there for you. Any other ones?
Well, one of the highest percent of suicide is by firearms, 68%. And that's the problem, is the military, they're trained to pull the trigger. And especially if they are perceiving themselves as a danger to others, they have no problems taking that danger out. And I had the opportunity to work with another mother who lost her son, who had TBI and PTSD. So that's one of the problems. It can be more than one issue. It isn't just like they have PTSD. TBI is the physical injury.
Yeah.
By the way, if you ever get a brain injury, get it on the left side, not the right. The left side is your anger and fear of the amygdala. The right side is happiness.
That's my problem. That's very good knowledge.
So
Not that we can probably choose.
that's from
but-
Dr. Daniel Amen.
Yeah. Okay.
So depending on where that injury was, brings out some of that aggression, which, first of all, I want to get rid of the stigma of veterans being these crazy war, veterans. They're not. They're people who have families, and they're just very good at compartmentalizing and separating their issues from their loved ones and hiding those issues. So there's also the PTSD, which is the biological, where it is actually that it's your sympathetic nervous system is on overdrive.
Yeah.
And there's actually a new it's not that new, but one new to me that I've heard of called stellate ganglion block. Easy to say. SGB.
Okay.
It's easier to say.
Okay.
Where they can inject into the right side of the neck and affect the nerves that are going to the amygdala.
Yeah.
And what has been described is that it actually lifts the veil, that now when they're going through therapy.
Interesting.
Because therapy and pharmaceuticals only help efficacy about 30%. Okay. So it helps to lift the veil so that they now can communicate better and have a better understanding.
Deep.
So, and then finally the last type of injury, what I call a soul injury, which is moral injury. So think of somebody who's has survivor guilt. So it's really, really complex. And so this one particular mother that I worked with a program that we just are launching with the VA, her son had the brain injury and he had PTSD. And I just remember her saying, he said those words, "The family would be better off without me." So they see that threat and they see themselves as that threat.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have two final questions for you. When you reflect on Daniel, what's one of your fondest memories? Whether it be as a young boy, like what's something that just brings you such joy and happiness when you think of Daniel?
I think, one, as a grown adult, he was so smart and had such a great sense of humor, and he could talk to anybody about anything. He just was constantly researching. He knew, as a young boy, he knew the height, weight, and 40-yard dash and college of pretty much everybody in the NFL.
I knew I liked him. I liked him.
He was like Mr. Statistics.
Yeah.
He would come over to his buddy's house, take over the TV, and he'd have his computer there, and he's running statistics.
Intelligence.
And he's watching the game.
He's statistically, analytics.
Yeah. So when he was in college at Oklahoma University, and he and his sister went there together because of football. They were such big fans.
Yeah.
And Sam Bradford So
Sure.
I had to watch College Game Day every Saturday morning before he called me, so I would take notes so I could have a conversation with my son.
Wow.
'Cause I'm like, I don't know who these people are. Colt McCoy.
Sure.
I remember
speaking
them
of
now.
Sam Bradford, you've met just before Gerald McCoy, who trains here, was Sam Bradford's teammate, who's still playing in the
cool.
NFL. So Daniel certainly knew Gerald because Sam was number 1 in the draft. Gerald McCoy was number 3 in the draft.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
Daniel would definitely remember Gerald, and I'll have to tell Gerald that story, or you can. Keep going.
Very nice.
So thinking about him in that role of the sports statistician and analytics, that brings you joy.
It
brings
does.
a smile to your face.
Yeah, it does.
Speaking of this, my last question is, I've heard this before, that you're only as happy as your saddest child.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you? How do you find happiness today? Right, like the finality of suicide is so hard, and as we mentioned earlier, you don't really recover from that, or you don't just get over that. But how do you find happiness today when in 2019 you were struck with such a tragic event?
So some of the life preservers I reached out for was journaling, which I learned from someone in this room, and meditation and breath work, which was hard to start. I'm not one who can sit still very long. I'm kind of amazed I'm sitting still this long. But it's really helpful, and especially because I can look back and see where I was and where I am now. And I still do see a grief counselor, which was helpful because I still, when I read how I felt initially, I still feel the same in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And what she said to me is, but you don't experience it as frequently. And that's like you said earlier, you never get over it, but you get through it. And then I have my daughter, who I need to be there for her.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I do anything for my kids. The
Yeah.
world stops if they have a need. And then I have a 4-year-old grandson, Cade, and a new 18 months, Kaylin Daniel, granddaughter. And they are my joy. They are my reason to be here.
So you're finding joy.
Yeah.
Finding joy. Well, Jeaneane, thank you. Thank you for persevering through one of the most difficult things anyone could ever do in losing your child. And the fact that you have created your own foundation to bring Daniel Ferguson's legacy to the forefront to help thousands of men and women is truly phenomenal. And I wanted to have you on today on this special day to make sure that Daniel Ferguson's legacy is never forgotten. And I know it won't be, because I know you're out there every single day serving people and helping people, whether it be at California Bodies and the women and men that you train every week that you do, or whether it's serving your foundation. So if anyone is out there right now listening in and they are military, they're former military, or they're challenged right now with some crazy thoughts, what would you say to them?
Well, first, there is the hotline, the VA hotline, which is 800-273-8255.
Okay.
Or you can text 838-255 to get help, to talk to somebody. And to reach out to someone, to a friend.
Yeah.
Someone who will listen.
Yeah.
Because we're here to listen.
Yeah. The hardest thing to do, I think, when you're down and out is to reach out, right? I often say, like, you don't know how strong you are. One of the signs that you are strong is by actually reaching out, and whether it's going to a counselor, getting professional help, reaching out to a friend and saying, I am hurting, or you're doing bad things to injure yourself, or you've really picked up some really bad habits, which are going down a bad route. Like, how can you reach out to somebody to get help for a situation that you're in? And if it's depression or you're having suicidal thoughts, obviously you want to get help, and that is a sign of strength. That is a sign that you can get through this. You must know that. And I think a lot of times you feel lost, you feel empty, and that there's no way out. There's no way out. And Jeaneane, I just want to say thank you again for being you, the woman that you are, and on so many different levels. But today, I wanted to honor Daniel Ferguson and your efforts to keep his legacy alive. So thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you so much for having me, especially on this day.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.